once just friends. Peaceful movie-watching beings. But then came the idea of a podcast that fought for franchises and the friends that dreamt of watching each and every sequel. With endless time and determination, the creation of sequel rights was all but certain. But in the year 2023, one franchise released a sequel, which would change our podcast's fate. Robots in disguise. Our hope for a good movie. A hope that vanished.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
Oh, thanks for being here again this week as we continue our way to Transformers Rise of the Beast. Rise of the Beasts.
Oh, on the way
the march
to that.
towards
Yeah.
the beast.
Oh,
We
got
make
it,
our
yes.
way to Transformers Rise of the Beasts. That comes out in June. Jeez, you ruined
I'm sorry,
it.
I got confused. I'm not the one who's made the joke about the mark of the beast, okay?
Right. Oh, man. And this week we're talking about Transformers Dark of the Moon, which is super confusing. It's not Dark Side of the Moon, even though they say that a million times in the movie. It's just Dark of the Moon. And with us today is special guest friend of the show, Brendon Donnelly.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, thanks for being here.
Pleasure to be here. Yes, they get how it's the name of the game is how close can you get to saying Dark Side of the Moon without saying Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark of the Moon. Dark of the Moon. Confusing. Anyways, thank you guys all for being here. I can't wait to dive into this one. But before we get too far, Eluz, where can people reach out to us?
Send us an email to sequelrights@gmail.com or reach out on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Sequel Rights.
And repost our Instagrams to TikTok so we can reach the youths. Rate and review us wherever you're listening. Follow us on Spotify. Every little bit helps to help us grow our audience and find everybody. We've gotten some new listeners through this series, and we're excited about that. Welcome.
That's right. And I know we have Brendon here, but you guys, I don't know if you've been checking out our previous episodes, but you might have heard another special guest that we've been having at the start of each episode. Optimus Prime himself coming in to give us a little intro. Just to be clear, this is like an AI voice thing, and we don't have any permission with anyone to use it. We're just doing it for fun. We're not making any money off it or nothing. It's fun times. I just thought it was funny to hear, one, hear Optimus Prime say our voices, or say our names, sorry. And then two, to hear him say sequel rights, which is pretty great. So I hope you guys have been enjoying those. I definitely have fun taking way too much time to put them together. But without further ado, let's get into it. Transformers Dark of the Moon.
Our entire space race of the 1960s was in response to an event. If you breathe a word of what you've seen here, it will do time for treason.
planet we were told had been shared. You lied to us. You've made a grave mistake.
All right. You know, when I'm putting together these, like, I cut together the trailers, I normally just, like, listen to the beginning and cut it off where I think would make sense. But I was, like, watching this trailer, and then I remembered, like, when this came out, I was like, this trailer was freaking awesome, and it still is really good. And so I was like...
It's a really good trailer.
I was, like, watching it multiple times, like, damn, I was hyped for this movie when it came out. I definitely saw it in theaters.
I think we saw it in theaters.
I think we did, because it would have been, it was 2011. Yeah, I think we did.
No, this would have been a 3D movie,
in IMAX.
as you can tell as you're watching through this.
Oh, yeah.
So we probably saw it at the old Chinese theater.
The Blu-ray that I have has like one of those lenticular covers because it is like it's the limited 3D edition that has like 6 Blu-rays in it, and one of them is one I can't even watch because it's in 3D.
Oh, like if you had a 3D TV?
Yeah, I was like, should I bust out my VR headset and like watch it in 3D? But
does that work?
It does. Yeah.
Oh,
with the PSVR 1, the original one, you can
nice.
It's like a little
VR headset
screen in there. It's cool, but too much work. Too much.
Yeah,
work. I don't got time for that. Eliz, we know that this is your first time seeing this.
It is, yeah.
But Brendon, what about you?
So yeah, this is actually one of the Transformers movies that I, for some reason, have seen multiple times.
Oh.
But at the same time, I have not seen the previous one.
Oh,
so I'm in a really unique situation of having seen this movie like at least 3 or 4 times, and then not once have I seen.
Did you see it in theaters?
I did. I absolutely saw it in theaters. It was definitely like I was in high school, and other friends of mine wanted to go see it. I did not care. I could not. I could not have.
You were like, Optimus who? Yeah.
I saw the first Transformers, and I was like, that was good. And then the second one came out, and I was like, that looks terrible. I don't want to see that. And so I don't. Yeah. But yeah.
Nice. One of the reasons, I mean, we're friends with Brendon, but one of the reasons we wanted to have him on too is because he recently moved out to LA from Chicago, and this is infamously a very big Chicago movie.
Yeah.
Even though Eli's texted me like...
I know. I texted Justin like 3/4 of the way through the movie because I thought that the final battle was like going to be DC. And so I was like, Justin, are you sure that you were like, you got the right movie and we invited Brendon and everything? Like, because like, I'm pretty sure this movie doesn't take place in Chicago. And he's like, it does. And then like finally like 10 minutes after I said that, then it was like, yeah, we got to go to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like there's stuff throughout the movie that's shot in Chicago, but like there definitely is like not till the very end that it comes up like Chicago.
Yeah,
Illinois.
they're in DC for the first 2 hours of the movie, but every skyline shot that you see
is
Chicago.
Exactly. I'm like, yep, there's the building.
I don't know. Some of those helicopter rides between DC and Chicago were too fast.
Yeah. And they go all the way down to like Florida, right? They go to the Space Center.
Yeah.
And then they go to Gary, Indiana for Chernobyl.
Oh, and they're also in Milwaukee for the Art Museum, which I'm like, of course, it's a super villain lair. Look at it. I mean,
is that what that is?
Yeah,
that's the yacht.
Okay.
The yacht,
Space Mountain.
It's like that crazy like. What is it called? The yacht? I don't remember what the name of it.
I just thought it looked like a yacht.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's like this. It's an art museum in Milwaukee, like right on the.
Okay.
The
yeah, Shia calls it Space Mountain, which I was like, good one, Shia.
Yeah, nice
you
one.
got him good.
It's a really impressive building. But let's talk about the start of the movie. As they do, they start off with the big old Optimus speech.
Right.
But I think for the first time we get to see Cybertron. Is that true?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so we get to see a little bit of the big backstory of the war between the Decepticons and Autobots.
A very Krypton-esque situation. They're sending off a ship, but instead of sending a baby, they send the top guy.
They send Leonard Nimoy.
They're sending Leonard Nimoy.
Which, holy shit.
Spock himself.
I was just IMDbing that a minute ago.
Yeah.
It was like, the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, I know that voice. I know that voice. Who's that voice?
He's trying to out gravitas Peter Cullen the entire movie.
It's pretty great. They're hamming it up.
I'm like, his voice is awesome. Like I have a couple. Now that we're talking about his voice, I really love the way he says machines in this clip here.
On Cybertron, we were gods, and here they call us machines. Let the humans serve us or perish.
I'm
machines.
like, his voice sounds just like so like
growly,
gravelly, and it's just great. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
We could only sound that cool when we're old.
Yeah. So we get a bunch of archival footage revealing that the moon landing was not fake, but had an extra
Thank God.
Knew it.
part.
They had, there was this whole other thing going on. It wasn't about exploration or about, advancing humanity. It was about, there was some really cool shit that the government wanted to get its hand on, and that's what started the space race.
Yeah. It's cool.
So I gotta admit, this part's still cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I thought it was cool that they found that real footage of JFK talking about the transfer.
Yeah, so I think last movie I complained like keep Obama's name out your mother effing mouth or whatever.
This one we
that
actually
was
get to see
yes,
Obama.
that was
that's true.
that was premature because this time we see a really bad deep fake Kennedy. Yeah.
Obama.
Kennedy, we see an Obama like mixed with real footage, Obama body double situation.
Yeah, you see him in the background and you're like,
Yeah.
that's definitely just some dude.
And
Nixon.
the soundbite they get of Obama is him going, "Thanks, man. Great job."
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it up.
Which, like, I cannot believe that the president and the government agree to this crap. Like, it's just so bad.
Hey, that's
I hate
what,
it.
when your movie's coming out over 4th of July weekend, you can do whatever you want.
Really hate it.
And the government's giving like a fuck ton of money over to this movie.
Yeah, they sure did. Oh my
I know you,
God.
Tyler. You were like, I started watching the movie, and you're like, the military's introduced within the first like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like it's like 2.5 minutes, and then we're talking about the military
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, wait. So, and then later we get the actual Buzz Aldrin. Okay, like,
Yeah, what? And he's
there's
like-
there's this whole thing about how Neil Armstrong went to USC and Buzz Aldrin went to UCLA. So they always try to be like, well, we have Buzz Aldrin, or we're like, well, yeah, well, he was the second guy, so who cares? And then also, I'm like, if I were having those arguments now, I'd be like, and also Buzz Aldrin was in Transformers 3 as himself. So argument over. Neil Armstrong is the superior astronaut. Okay.
Although I feel like this is around the time where he was showing up in a lot of stuff. Like he shows up in that 30 Rock episode.
Oh yeah, I love that
I walked on you.
the shots of him on the set, it just makes it seem like they were like, yeah, Buzz, there's gonna be a giant robot up there. Just look at it, and he's just looking like.
I hope he got to bring his grandkids or something,
Yeah. He looks like he's not selling it. He's not selling it.
I just love how
I'm not
much-
even going to
how
make a
much-
joke about how Buzz knows where his eye lines are from Stanley Kubrick, but I was tempted.
Optimus Prime has so much reverence for humans and human history.
know. I don't know
he
why.
meets Buzz Aldrin, and he's like, the honor is all mine.
Turns on a dime, too.
I
He's
know.
like, these motherfuckers, you don't know what we're talking about. And he's like, with this old man, I
Yeah,
care
he's
what-
like angry. He's pissed off like 30 seconds before this, and then he's like, "Oh, Buzz Aldrin, oh."
Yeah, it is really interesting. Like, why? What is it about Optimus that made him come to Earth and be like, we must protect the humans?
I know.
Yeah,
they
it's very
treat him
weird.
so badly every
Yeah.
single time.
He also
We're
he
gonna
seems
find
like
that there's a little Autobot baby somewhere. That
it's
That
funny.
would be a Superman arc.
He has so much, he has so much reverence for life, and then like in the very next scene, he's like, "Die, Decepticon piece of shit." I mean, that's basically what he says like multiple times
Yes.
as he's ripping people's hearts out,
and
or, like,
eviscerates them.
yeah, just like
it is
totally
Time to
demolished.
die.
I do think some of the deaths were like more intense in the last one than this one, but hey,
This movie's
So-
violent. This movie's violent
Very.
shit.
it's pretty violent.
Our government
The robots
shill.
have blood.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
Our government shill this time is Francis McDormand.
Yeah.
Very, very comfortably pre-Francis Assance. This is like pre-Moonrise Kingdom, pre-billboards, pre-everything.
Yeah.
Like she's clearly having not a moment at this time. And now she has multiple Academy Awards. Or no, she did already, but now she has even more. And, but it's like I've seen her poop in a bucket on screen, but this movie is more humiliating.
Yeah, I was just like,
Damn.
I was like, man, I remembered that Patrick Dempsey was in this, but there were people like her character that I was like, I totally forgot. Like, how is she in this movie? Like, what?
Yeah.
But it makes
There are
sense,
crimes done against people that I love in this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so
Crimes.
many famous people in this movie.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Alan
the first
Tudyk is in this
hour.
movie.
Alan Tudyk, oh my god! And then Keiko Jaina is her assistant. I don't think she says a single word like the entire time. She just stands there.
She has that awkward look when they talk about John Turturro talks about like her butt looking nice.
Yeah, I also felt awkward when John Turturro spoke in a sexual way toward Frances McDormand.
Spoke every single word in this movie. Yeah.
You don't
Which is
mess with the
also
Jesus.
weird too, because like that is the wife of John Turturro's, like one of his best friends, one of the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
The more of I
have
know,
worked
and I
together
know
many
he's
times.
going to continue to be in these movies, but like I didn't really know much about John Turturro. Like, I mean, I've seen Severance, and I was like, wow, he's so great in Severance. Like, what a great performance. And now I'm just like, wow, I actually hate him.
Hey, he's got different facets.
He's laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, good for him. But
Go,
good in the
see
Batman,
yourself some Miller's
you know?
Crossing and some Barton Fink.
Yeah.
Big Lebowski is what I know him.
Yeah.
oh, the Batman, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Batman. Yeah, he's got
He's in Darkman.
He does different things. He's got
Darkman.
range.
He was in Darkman?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so was Francis, obviously.
Yep.
Okay, so Megan Fox is gone.
R.I.P.
What happened?
And
Since
Michael
I
Bay
didn't
has
see
told
the first-
screenwriter. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, since I didn't see the second movie, what happened? Did
They
you know?
were in love. They said, "I love you."
They did.
That's
So
what happened.
We've thrown out a lot of accusations toward Michael Bay, so I just want to like correct the record because I actually did go and look all of this up because I
All
was
right,
like, we're
good.
just saying things and we don't actually know. So here's what actually happened. There was a narrative that Michael Bay had creeped on her and fired her for some reason, and that was kind of like a big narrative, but she has since come out and explained the entire thing. Obviously, they worked together again later for Ninja Turtles, and everything is totally cool between the two of them. She says he never, ever sexually exploited her or creeped on her or anything like that. I don't remember talking about this when we saw Bad Boys 2, but she's in Bad Boys 2 as an extra in like a dance club or a strip club kind of scene. She was only 15 years old, but she's like dancing sexy under a fountain. And she's like wet, but it's only in the movie for like a split second. Like you can't even see it. You can't even tell it's her. But she was there as a background actor and she made extra money because she had to get under the fountain or whatever. So that's how she first met Michael Bay. But she said he never did anything untoward to her or anything like that. Apparently, she had said in some interviews she had made some poor decision jokes comparing him to Adolf Hitler in his filming style, like that it was very unflexible, strict and difficult and long days, and they were hard on her, and so she had called him that. Steven Spielberg and his people were like, you can't be making Hitler jokes because I'm the president of the Shoah Foundation and the most biggest Hollywood authority on the Holocaust, so no Hitler jokes, please. And they asked her to apologize for that comment. And I guess she has since said, you know what, I was 20 years old. I didn't want to apologize. I was annoyed that they were trying to quote unquote silence me, and I was being a little brat, and I would refuse to apologize, and I just quit the movie myself. Dang. And so that is apparently what happened.
She was also like on top of the world still at this time.
And so she was just kind of like peace and got out of the movie. But this part still was pretty much written for her. The plot was going to be mostly the same, with her boss being evil, which I think really would have been cool and good. Like, instead you have to make this whole Obama thing where Shia meets this British girl or whatever, and gets with her. But I feel like the female character storyline would have been really cool if it had been her.
Yeah, if we cared about the female character in the movie.
It makes sense that she would have a job like in a museum for cars, and that, she and then it would have been a really cool, twist for her to be like, oh my God, I thought you hired me for my skills and you just hired me because my boyfriend is this guy with the Transformers. That would have been an interesting character arc for her to come to terms with, but
that's too bad.
Nope.
Yeah.
Instead we get the Duchess.
The Duchess.
Which is
Mr. Inappropriate.
Super awkward moment in the movie.
And Shia's being a little bitch about being jealous, but at the same time I'm like, he's not wrong. Patrick Dempsey's been creepy as hell to this girl.
Yes. Very creepy.
So anyways, that's setting the record straight on the Megan Fox thing, because I know we had thrown out just kind of a lot of comments about Michael Bay being creepy, and the camera gaze is for sure still creepy.
Oh my God.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking he was not creepy
human,
and did not objectify her except for everything that we see on screen.
Right.
We have this whole like, super intense action sequence opening, and then this really long like
archival
alternate history thing, and then like the second we move into the regular movie, it's like here's some barely covered butt with a panties. Like I mean,
this is an angle that did not exist in cinema until this movie. It's like about knee height but pointed up toward the butthole. Yeah, as she walks. Like
also up the stairs. Like this took some prep. Like this was a day of shooting,
and it's just like, oh my God!
They had to set up that. They had to rig up that dolly on that staircase.
Yeah,
it took a lot of fucking work, man.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Very bad, very not cool.
Also, the way he meets her is totally insane. Like, what? Who would do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
He does like finger guns at her, like. Pew, pew.
Yeah, that was awful.
And I was like, okay, well,
yeah, there's no real world scenario in
people
which
just like creeps, I guess.
Yeah. Once again, a Victoria's Secret model ends up with our boy.
It makes no sense.
Sam Witwicky.
Well,
makes
and
no sense.
I mean, honestly, I didn't think that. What's her name? Rosie Huntington.
Rosie
Whiteley?
Huntington Whiteley.
I didn't actually even think she was that bad as an actor. I thought she was fine. Obviously, she's been given some ridiculous material, but like, it sucks because it makes no sense. Like, there are people in the world that know about the Transformers thing, but they still forced Shia to keep his involvement a secret. And then they get mad that he told his girlfriend about it, but like, they have to have her know, otherwise the movie doesn't make sense because Megan Fox knew about all of it. So,
and ultimately,
how dare you try to apply logic to this movie?
Yeah.
I was like, ultimately, she ends up saving the day at the end.
Yeah.
True.
There you
by,
go.
By
reverse psychology,
seducing Megatron,
which would have been really cool if it had been Megan Fox doing it, because she's already interacted with Megatron two other times and would get like, hey, this guy's a little B, and I could totally trick him into,
Yeah.
He's not as big as strong as you.
Oh boy. Well, what else? At the start of the movie here, it's all about. First of all, I thought it was hilarious that the Transformers were like, well, I guess there's nothing else to do except be, Black Ops hit squad for the government. we're gonna go kill terrorists around the world or whatever the fuck they were doing. Which seems like, okay, I don't know if that's a good. Should they be doing that?
And then it's all about how Sam cannot get a job because the government won't acknowledge what he did before.
He's been out of college for 3 months.
Yeah, how does
he not have a job?
Can't do it.
God, I mean, and he doesn't want, the mailroom's not good enough for him. Being an assistant's not good enough for him. He wants to know that he matters.
He wants the job after the job.
Yeah.
As
Malkovich,
as John Malkovich says in the film, through his veneers or whatever the fuck is going on with his teeth. Jesus, what is he doing in this movie? There's also like, oh man, yeah. There's that scene with John Malkovich in the office when Carly's there and he does that like thing where he like leans over and looks at her butt. Like,
it's just,
I'm like, why is this?
He doesn't lean over. He fully like turns his head upside down like a.
Yeah,
have you ever seen Undertale? Like the dog that goes, like that's what he does with his head.
Most of the really racist and hideous jokes in this one are in this beginning office part where Shia has this new job at this company. His new boss at the mailroom, for no reason, is just berating a Latina employee there, telling her she looks like a hoochie mama and that she's got what does he say?
He says that she has a Latin
temper. Latin meltdown. Yeah.
I turned this movie on right when Glory was there, and it was right at that point. It was right at that part, and she's like, "What the hell did he just say?"
And you're like, "Oh!"
And I was like,
"It's for work.
Sorry.
It's for the podcast."
Did you see what she was wearing though? No, I didn't see it. But I was just like, "What the fuck is why?"
And then we get
Why is
Ken Jeong.
Why is that a scene? Yeah. Ken Jeong.
Who's like pretty much just off of like Hangover 1 at this point. So I get that he was
Probably
like,
why he's in it.
he has quotes being like, I can't believe I'm in a franchise. I'm so excited. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, he was like a doctor 2 days before this movie shot. So I get that he's excited, but like, why would you freaking take this awful role where you have to tell Shia that your name is Deep Wang? Like,
yeah.
God.
And his coworker who is racist towards him and racist is Andy Daly, who is one of the funniest people on the planet, and breaks my heart to see him in this movie and in that role.
It's really rough. And then they also there's this whole thing where him and Shia are in a bathroom and they're like, oh, it's so funny. He's got the paper in his pants. And he came out with no pants on. They're so gay. And then later somebody calls him Gaylord. Like, it's just
that's Deep Wang that calls him Gaylord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Andy Daly. I don't know what was going on there, but I was going to say that he was being racist, but he did introduce the podcast to a new type of milk.
I don't care about your exotic milk. I care about respect.
We've had hot milk in the past, but now we've got exotic milk. Okay. I mean, I just laughed at that line only because of the podcast. Otherwise, I'm like, this is, it's not a good joke, but
not cool at all. And then also one of the people that is interviewing Shia, he calls him an Asian Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
Oh yes,
because he's like an old guy.
And apparently that was supposed to be like a term of endearment or something.
I guess.
I mean, he was trying to sound like he liked him. I don't know. It's like, whatever.
That's like most of the racist things in this one, actually. There's not that many later. They call a printer exceedingly Japanese at some point.
Also,
and then it turns into a fucking
into a Decepticon, yeah. Which I'm like, actually, I'm pretty sure that Japanese products are known for being very easy to use. I don't but okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a Transformers joke, personally. But
you could talk about all the suicide jokes that happen when the Phoenix kills Ken Jeong's character. That didn't age well.
No.
Yeah, Laserbeak.
Yeah.
That's his name?
Yeah, his name's Laserbeak.
And John Malkovich is just like, he's not going anywhere.
He's not getting any deader.
Yeah.
Like,
and Andy Daly's saying stuff. It's like, okay.
They're immediately trying to be like, well, he was depressed, which honestly is like actually almost kind of funny because that is what any company would do because they're all evil corporations. But yeah. So,
I mean, the Laserbeak thing part of that was kind of cool. I liked that there was that sequence where he goes all Megan on that family.
Yes.
And turns into like a good pink robot. And then it's like, that whole sequence is kind of creepy and like super dark.
Yeah, it's really good.
Compared to anything that we get. And,
I have a child star check-in for these kids.
Oh, all right.
It's been a minute.
Let's do it.
So child star check-in, the little girl, engineer's daughter, is Charlotte LeBady, and she is currently a sophomore at the New York City Fashion Institute of Technology. So good for her. Continue your studies. Looks like it's going well. And then Daniel O'Keefe is engineer's son. He didn't act that much more. I'm not quite sure where he is now, but his IMDb makes a big deal about saying that he's the grandson of Jack Griffin, who was a character actor in the 1970s that was on like 100 TV shows as like a guest.
All right.
Nepotism.
Yeah. And then we also have Girl in Chicago later.
Girl in Chicago?
Yeah.
When was this?
In Chicago.
I know, but I'm like trying to think when there was another
There
kid.
must have been a little kid in Chicago. But her name's Abby McKenzie. She just graduated like 3 days ago from North Central College in Naperville. And she was studying French acting and singing, and she's still in a lot of theater productions and everything like that. And she's really, really, really into Walt Disney World. Like a lot.
Oh, okay. How so? Like, what's the...
she definitely goes, like, at least every year, and she definitely, like, wears Mickey ears all the time.
She's going to get the dining plan that's coming?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, she doesn't have to make a reservation anymore. She's got an annual pass, yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, that's the child star check-in. Just 3 kids.
That's more than we've had for a bit. We're watching all these newer movies.
Yeah.
So. But
new movies hate kids.
New movies hate kids. Who else is crazy in this movie? We talked about Alan Tudyk. We learned that John Turturro's character has sold a book and he's like super rich now. And he has like a crazy bodyguard assistant butler person that is Alan Tudyk.
Named Dutch, but has a very German sounding accent.
Yeah. And apparently he was maybe like ex-military or something. I don't know.
We only get one scene of him like being an ass-kicking like military dude, and then it's never touched on ever
He
again.
hacks into something.
That's true.
Oh, he also hacks
hacking.
into the bridge in
Right.
Chicago.
Right.
A purely mechanical thing.
It's like I did think it was funny like when they ask for his help that like they just dive so immediately into like totally like tracking this guy with the crazy binoculars and trying to find those cosmonauts and stuff. I'm just like, I thought that was kind of funny in a over the top way. But
one of the things that pushed this movie over from like kind of offensive to like ridiculously offensive to me is this Bill O'Reilly scene. They're obviously very friendly with Bill O'Reilly, and this is pre-Trump era, so I think Fox News was still a little bit more trying to be like, we're conservative, but we're still normal. Like they weren't. I think this was before Bill O'Reilly killed like every single historical figure with one of his books.
There's a large constituency of Republicans in this movie.
Right.
I mean, like when he's doing the interviews and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a medal from Obama." And they're like, "Well, there's mostly Republicans." Here.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's still a.
Yeah, so I get this was before they started like fully calling for like just flat out racist, horrible things on the air. Like Bill O'Reilly, I guess, was maybe a little bit more palatable in 2011, but still like not really. And like full on, like he has a role, like he has lines, he's speaking back and forth with John Turturro, and they like promote him, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this.
And I assume that Trump made money off of this too, because
Trump Tower.
They show
Trump Tower,
and say
which
Trump
was
Tower
brand new
multiple
at
times.
the time.
Oh, really?
Trump Tower had just been built. Yeah, so there had to have been some money exchanged there for sure.
And it's in, like the place that it's in is like, pretty much where the entire final sequence takes place. So they couldn't like get away with totally cutting it out. But they didn't have to have the freaking evil villain layer there. I guess it makes sense now, but that's where Patrick Dempsey's hold up at Trump Tower. They keep saying multiple times. God. Again. Yeah. But
His family has their money of their evil NASA accountants.
That's right. Yeah, I love that. He's like, why do you think we never went back to the moon? It's because we told him it was too expensive.
I know. I love that that's his evil plot.
No one double-checked the numbers.
And then later he's like, I'm an accounting liaison. I liaise or whatever. He's like doing the Rogue One.
Yeah, I was like,
what is this, a rebellion?
I thought the same thought. I was like, oh shit, that's where they got that line from?
I liaise.
I'm a liaison.
Well, and even that is the conservative bent of this movie, where it's like, oh, it's the accountants and the IRS, and it's like it's the soldiers, it's not even the military. It's like there's armed vigilantes in this movie with Florida license plates.
Who make the drive up to Chicago.
They do, yeah.
They do.
It makes
Save us
no
all,
sense.
save humanity.
It makes such little sense.
It's every like QAnon's wet dream.
Yeah, this is where that becomes romanticized. It's like these burly dudes with their combat vests, with their machine guns that they still got. Like,
when
let's
the
go
cards
there
are on the
robots.
table, these are the guys that you want to put your faith in to save humanity.
Exactly. Good thing they had their guns on them.
This movie is so long. Like,
it's really long.
It's got this whole. There's two like groups of military or militia people, that we follow through the whole ending, and it just drags it on for so long. Even when you look at the IMDb. Go ahead.
There's also some Navy guys that pop up in the river.
Right.
I was as soon as that happened, I was like, "Oh fuck!" I feel bad. Those guys are fucked. They were in the Chicago River. I feel bad for those guys. That shit is toxic.
Where did they come from?
I just didn't understand.
How long were they in there?
I didn't understand too, and maybe you can explain it to me. And sorry, this is like skipping all the way to the end. Like,
it's fine.
What were the Decepticons' plan? Like, they had to harvest humans somehow, but then they just
I don't think
disappear them all.
They hadn't gotten that far.
They kept saying like, "Oh, the humans are the resource."
And they were gonna enslave
I think they were just
everyone.
gonna enslave them.
But yeah, it wasn't ever really
I think it was a resource for work. I don't think it like.
Guess.
I didn't think it was like they were going to actually like harvest them. For
Well, they
doesn't
dust
make
a bunch
any
of them
sense.
too. They like a bunch of
just
people
killing
just
a
get
bunch
like
of them.
instantly
people
killed.
getting vaporized.
But I'm like, why don't they
left
just do that later to Shia and all the other people?
Why were there not like
So, Elis, I have
Decepticon
a
like
theory on
choker
this.
necklaces going on everyone?
God. Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
Everyone.
My theory is that the Decepticons they can turn into all the machines and everything else, like, you know, to do all the construction, but they like it like it's sexy for them to have a human inside to drive the truck while they're doing construction.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a sex thing.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
It's a sex thing.
Sex thing.
I'm just going to use that to explain every question I now have from now on about the Decepticons. Like, well, it's a sex thing, you know, it's one of those things.
Also, like, they're going to bring through Cybertron, but if it doesn't work, it gets totally destroyed like it does at the end. Like,
Yeah.
that seems like a pretty big
and
risk.
also there's a part where they bring like half of Cybertron through, and then like it
like,
stops.
cuts off.
It like cuts it in
Yeah.
half, and then it's back, and it's all together again.
Yeah. I don't know.
Also, spoiler alert: how gravity works. If another planet appeared that close,
It would fuck some shit
everyone
up.
would be
Yeah.
fucking dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I thought Cybertron was like a totally dead planet anyway. What's the point of even bringing it?
They said it was a wasteland. I don't know, because they were going to rebuild it with human slaves. That's, I think, what the plan was.
Yeah,
They're going to have the human slaves, rebuild
drive them around
the
in little
planet.
dump trucks.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, move that shifter. Oh, yeah.
Well, I honestly could like barely pay attention to this movie, and like I got
Damn.
so confused by the plot that I had to just go and read the entire Wikipedia after. So
I feel like
whatever
this
other
one-
we
plot
understand
things
it
you
more
want to
than we
talk
do.
about, please talk about.
I feel like this one makes way more sense than the last one, personally.
It does.
There's only one writer on this movie as opposed to the last one that had three.
Let's talk about Aaron Kruger,
Please.
for a second.
Aaron
he has
Kruger.
some sequel rights
Yes.
pedigree.
Yeah, do it. Go for
I
it.
have his IMDb page up right now. I'm learning.
Yes, he
I'm
has.
learning
He was the genius that brought us our favorite of the franchise, Scream 3.
Oh.
But then also helped out on 4.
This guy's done a lot
Also
of
helped
shit.
out on 4. Also wrote the screenplay for The Ring. Okay, but really, all you need to know about this man is that he is responsible for writing the line, "Let's get ready to Dumbo."
I was totally going to say that. I was like, he wrote the greatest line that Justin and I probably bring up on a weekly basis. Let's get ready to Dumbo.
He also wrote Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
What a
Academy
genius.
Award
Yeah, I mean,
nominee.
So there you go. There you
yeah.
And Ghost in the Shell, starring famous Asian actor Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, there's a lot of writers on Top Gun Maverick,
go. Yeah, that's true.
and the last one is Christopher McQuarrie.
Wah, wah.
It's funny. Like, I didn't get to watch all the special features, but it was really funny. I started the huge, 2-hour long documentary that they have.
Oh, wow.
And it was really funny because the entire thing starts off as like almost like an apology for the last movie, and it goes over again how like we were really strapped because of the strike and da 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 da. And also they talk about how like Michael and the studio like were well aware of what everyone thought of the second movie, and so this is kind of a response to that, which makes sense, And I honestly think that this one makes more sense and does a better job in certain situations. Like, there's a lot of, Transformer deaths and stuff in this that, like, okay, maybe you're not like crying about it, but at least it like does a better job of like making the stakes and making you feel it a little bit.
I don't know. I did think honestly the effects had gotten better again with this one, and the action was easier to see. But I actually think that it was harder to follow than this. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I think it was more complicated. And
I think it's hard to watch these movies like a week after that close in succession. I think that it's just a product of watching the last one and then watching this one. It's not that much different. It's better on the details. And I agree with Justin. I think that there is a lot of things that are executed interestingly. This is one of the 3D movies after Avatar that I think actually use the 3D technology to be compelling and have it be for these big crazy action sequences. I remember seeing, I saw it once in theaters, and I remember, a lot of these 3D sequences really working. Even the completely asinine, he's on the grapple arm thing, bouncing up and down there, like that's clearly just for 3D,
Yeah.
and he looks terrible during that.
There's like a CG, completely CG version of Shia LaBeouf that looks like god awful for like a few seconds. You're like, wow, okay,
that came all the way up and saw you in the front of the screen there.
I do love that moment though, where it's like, you know, the old Transformer guy who gets killed later, you know, hands out a bunch of like super weapons to people, and I'm sure he like goes to fire that thinking it's a gun, but it's like a grapple hook, and then he's like totally fucked and almost dies. I think. That's funny.
And another thing I'll say about the action here is that this came out the same year as Captain America: The First Avenger, and you know that shows you where the Marvel movies were in their action. And there is so much of the sequences in Chicago with the ships and everything else that show up in the Avengers like immediately.
I had the
basically
alien
just ripped
warships that were just like straight up from the first Avengers movie, which hadn't happened yet.
Thinking the same thing. I was like, I thought it was very interesting. Like I didn't have this thought when the Avengers came out, because it comes out the very next year, but I was like, yeah, I had the same thought. Like those ships look exactly like those like alien dragon things, and the like, you know, the plan and like plot of the villain is like very similar. Blue beam into the sky, bringing over a new army, and it's like,
I guess, but like the thing about Avengers is that you give a crap about every single Avenger at that point in the movie.
Yeah, I'm not
and you
saying,
even care about Loki. You like Loki.
I'm not saying I'm not saying like that it's the same movie. I'm just saying like that those specific things, like the design of that ship and like the plan of the enemy is like very similar, and it's kind of makes me go like,
and just the pure filmmaking of the shots that you see and the execution and the craftsmanship of that, like, and Michael Bay's a better action director than Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I'm
not
I
saying
think a lot of that is just lifted.
Exactly. I'm not saying anything like, oh, it's just as good, or Transformers did it first. Like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like, you know, I don't know. I think it's pretty strikingly similar in those couple things.
Hey, if I'm looking how to do a giant destroy a city sequence, and you know, I'm looking for me to care more about the characters, but I am looking at the visuals from Michael Bay movies to see what works there and what is extraneous bloat.
Like, I feel like, you know, I mean, the movie, like Ela said, is insanely long, and you could cut out like probably an hour of just nonsense sequences
military
that don't matter,
propaganda,
and you would have like probably one of the fucking sweetest action movies ever. Because like Michael Bay, like as much as you don't like all that bloat and all that stuff, like the action sequences I think are like really fucking sweet. I know there's, you know, there's other action movies that are like more realistic or like, you know, like John Wick and stuff, but like as far as like these big budget sci-fi CG action, like it's done pretty well, and they do a really good job of like blending like the whole final like 45-minute Chicago action sequence. I think is awesome.
So I agree with you when it comes to the Transformers parts, and then even the office building stuff was kind of cool in that in its own way. But here's what wasn't cool, and maybe was supposed to be, was like 15 minutes of flying squirrel guys. Like team flying squirrel situation.
Thought that was cool.
I didn't think that was cool.
No,
I'm like, they're just falling.
Very funny. I laughed in the theater when that was happening.
They weren't flying. They were falling with very little style. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that not all of it was real, but there were lots of it. Like they actually had dudes like fly through the city like that.
I guess.
Well, and that's what Michael Bay is so good at, is getting those plates, getting the ways to integrate. Like it's not
completely
methodical.
Fake. Yeah. And like I personally remember that being pretty thrilling in the IMAX 3D. I don't know. That was one of the sequences that I was like remembering as I was coming up into the movie. I was like, oh yeah, there's like crazy, like there's lots of like jumping out of buildings and like, you know, I don't know. Just imagine how they like, how do they shoot the scene in the office building where like Shockwave is like making it fall and break in half, and there's like multiple sequences where they're like sliding all the way this way, and then they're sliding that way, and then now they're sliding on the outside of the building. Like that stuff is all insane, and like, I mean, it's not CG. A lot of the action sequence stuff, other than the robots. But
while we're talking about Michael Bay's directing, I just felt watching this movie that I just felt exhausted watching it, because whether he's shooting a crazy action sequence like that, or if he's just shooting people talking, or if he's just shooting the Autobots going into the nest base after a mission. Like, it's always done with like this crazy like camera pan for like a crazy like the most
camera
insane
cannot stop
action sequence ever, and it's just like it like I don't know. The pacing of the movie is I think what is the worst part of it, and it's like the most Michael Bay part of it.
Yeah,
is just that it's a nonstop thrill ride in a bad way.
Yeah, he never like a scene that you would think would just be like a normal setup is never like that. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
sure.
I every single time I see one of his movies, I'm like, if that was 90 minutes long, it would have been one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Yep.
But I still think there's a lot of fun to have here, and like I think it does a better job with the villain. We haven't talked a ton about Sentinel Prime, but I think he's more complicated villain than the Fallen. Like what the Fallen is like, what? I don't know.
Or is he exactly the same, just with they actually got a second pass on the script?
Yeah, I mean maybe, but he's like a little bit more. I think he's more complicated because he was technically supposed to be like the leader of the Autobots.
Yeah, I guess it's cool that he like double crossed Optimus.
Yeah. There's more
If he was
twists and
asleep
turns
this whole time, though, why does he hate humans?
Yeah.
Just because he's still in the. I mean,
Or he just woke up and clearly saw that they were superior.
Right. He just is like a different mindset. I mean, I don't know what it is about Optimus, but I think
it's because old people are like.
I think it's because Optimus's situation in the first film, like he has more of a connection with humans right off the bat, and like this guy.
You know what it was? We missed the scene where Sentinel talked to Bill O'Reilly. They cut it.
Oh.
Yeah, totally. This guy's just like, I want to be Yoda for 2 seconds.
So lost you are, Optimus.
So lost you are. Yeah.
I did like how Megatron was like in the desert, still like recovering, and his face is all messed up.
He's a weird like African safari truck.
I liked his little, like dark, like Kermit the Frog, dark cape kind of thing, like, and I also liked how he had like his own Igor, and I was like, he's got like a little Igor Decepticon, and I looked it up, and that Decepticon's name is Igor.
Oh yeah. I think it's like super. I actually like watching that. I was like, I think it's super gross that there's all these like little bug like ones that are crawling in his wound or whatever. I did think too there was a hilarious shot in that moment where like first of all I was like, oh, it's the Lion King, because there's all these shots of Africa, and then there's a shot where there's like voiceover of like the Decepticons talking, but it's showing elephants, so it almost looks like the elephants are talking to him like Megatron.
It's just so funny because it makes sense that maybe he wants that cape in the desert to protect him from sand, but then he wears it the entire movie, like all the way to the very end. He's got his little cape and hood, and then
design.
Yeah, it's just very funny. He needed that cape even less than Jetfire needed his cane in the movie.
That's true. Yeah.
I remember sitting in the theater, and I think I probably sat up and got excited when it looked like he was talking to those elephants, because I thought, oh fuck, it's Beast Wars.
Beast Wars time. Yeah, I know. Nope. What else? I don't know. They make it seem like a bunch of we get there's a major Transformers death. We get Ironhide killed with some sort of like, insane
corrosion gun.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like rusting away and melting right in front. I was like, oh shit, like he's actually dead. Like he's not coming back. He's not getting Matrix of leadership back to life. Yeah.
Well, it's just cool that they killed him in a different way, especially because in this movie you see the military training, like the way to kill them is with a headshot or whatever, and like the old guy later gets killed with like his head getting cut off, right? I think
they shoot him in the chest and shoot his head.
And so this was cool that it was like the rustiness.
Yeah, and it just makes it be like, oh, he's like, I mean, you're like, he's not coming back from that, which sucks.
I mean, this gets into how violent this movie is. It's, we see the Transformers, like the Decepticons, when they killed Chicago, like they kill thousands of people. Like there's a shot where I think it's a laser blast goes through, and we see a bunch of people running, and then there's like bones scatter out after, like it's a quick flash.
Yeah, I know.
And there's no more people, and it's just bones.
And then
which is really dope.
Yeah. There's also all these shots of like, when Shia LaBeouf gets there with the like militia group or whatever, there's all these shots of just like clothes on the ground with no people in them. And you're like, fuck.
Like when they're trying to fly the dumb ship and they crash, like they visibly see as they're crashing, they're killing people. It's very weird.
Yeah, Bumblebee doesn't know how to drive that thing.
Yeah, it's played for yucks. Yeah, it's like, many people died.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is to talk about too much. Just the crazy action sequence at the end. I don't know.
Brendon, how is it saying Chicago destroyed?
You know what? I every single time I see Chicago in a movie, I'm like, wow, what a fucking beautiful city.
Yeah.
Aww.
It's gorgeous there, and that was all I could think about the whole time.
You know what? They literally run through the entrance to this like tour boat company that I worked at, and you can see the like.
You worked at a tour boat company?
Yeah, I was like.
Were you like a Jungle Cruise skipper?
I was a deckhand, so.
Okay.
I was like making sure people get on safely, and then cleaning things. But
how many drunk people get on that boat? That has to be a hard job, actually.
A lot, and you can buy booze on the boat too. It was fun. It was a fun job. But it's just funny that like I was like, oh, there's the Wendella boat sign, and they're like that's the whole sequence when they're like by the bridge and trying to like get the bridges down. It's all in that area where they like load the boats and stuff.
So did you guys like when we were, for example, when we saw the LA Mission City scene in the first movie, we could definitely tell like, okay, now they're in Koreatown, now they're in Wilshire, now they're in downtown. Like, is it like that for you seeing this? Like, were they just teleporting all over Chicago, or was it pretty?
I feel like this one they did a pretty good job. They're all in the like Wrigley. They're like by the Wrigley building a lot, and they're all in that same area by the river.
Yeah,
pretty good.
most of the movie takes place by the river, like in like the heart of like Miracle Mile.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Is it Miracle Mile or Magnificent Mile?
Magnificent Mile.
Yeah, Miracle Mile's here.
Right. So Magnificent Mile, and then like
started, Brendon.
But there's also we talked about before how there's there's like skyline stuff of Chicago throughout, even when they're not in Chicago. I distinctly remember a scene where like they're definitely in Washington D.C., but they're driving up like Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that like isn't the Nest building like an old post office or something? Isn't that like
it all looks very Chicago. Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, that's one of the places they shot The Dark Knight at or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of Chicago filming going on at this time.
Yeah. Oh, did you also like the Graboid Transformer?
Yes, I did.
I was like, oh, it's a Graboid. I forgot.
Oh, so we first meet him in Chernobyl, way back at the beginning of the movie, and I forgot to say how offensive it is that they imply that Chernobyl was really just a Transformers issue gone wrong.
That's rough. That's rough.
Real bad, super uncool. And then also this movie premiered at the Moscow International Film Festival.
Whoa.
So I'm kind of like, okay, I guess. Like they were like, Chernobyl wasn't the government. It was definitely the Autobots and Decepticons.
They definitely don't make Russia look great in this movie.
Well, but they excuse Chernobyl by saying it was the Transformers. So
what was that whole scene where like Sam and John Turturro's character and Alan Tudyk all go to like some like Russian bar,
right, to find out
what was the point of that?
They're trying to find a cosmonaut.
The cosmonauts had secret info on
the space race and the pillars, because the Decepticons went and took the pillars.
They took all
most of them.
5 of them.
For some reason.
There's so many scenes that happen that I remember so little of, and I'm just like, why did they do that? Because half of them were just like telling you information that you already knew.
Well, also, Russian gangsters and Russian ladies with guns in a bar is so funny. That's why.
And also Alan Tudyk knows how to handle a weapon.
Apparently.
Really.
The whole thing was like the Decepticons took the pillars but left some so that
it was a plot.
The Autobots would go there because they couldn't revive Sentinel Prime.
Yeah, they needed the Matrix of leadership.
What else was I going to say? Oh, there was also that hilarious scene where Megatron just like blows up Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, why?
Lincoln Memorial.
Why were they there?
I want to sit here.
He was like, everyone loved Tim Burton's
seat.
Planet of the Apes so much. I want to do that final shot.
Yeah, I had that same thought too. That was so funny. Oh my god.
Well, that bridges the gap to Mark Wahlberg.
Oh boy.
Does it?
Oh boy.
I mean, I have like nothing else to say about the plot or the scenes of this movie. I do have a game eventually, but do you have anything else to say about the action?
I'm just trying to think, like, I mean, it's another one that just kind of ends. We already talked about how Carly saves the day. We do get a lot of great, like, I mean, I don't know. I really enjoy, there's like this, I really enjoy the Optimus action in this, like, He has wings in this one. He flies around
Until he gets caught in a web.
Yeah.
of wires
In a web.
for like 20 minutes.
Just like we're like Optimus has to, like when he's up and kicking ass, like he's unstoppable, and then it's like, oh no, it's windy. Like I have to be gone for 20 minutes.
So Windy City, right?
Yeah. Also, there's like a fat Autobot that's called Target that literally has the Target
Target.
logo
Yeah.
on his stomach.
on his crotch. Yeah. Oh.
And I know, like last week, we talked a lot about the product placement, and I thought it was hilarious that there's literally a moment in this movie where they have a long discussion about what's the name of the car he gave you? Oh, let me look it up. And they literally go to like a branded website for the Mercedes SLS, and it starts playing an ad, I think even. And he's like, and it says like, this is a $100,000 car.
Yeah, but then it just ends up being a Decepticon that tries to kill her.
What was the name of that Decepticon? I don't know. I just thought of it as the Mercedes.
It was Soundwave. I thought.
Soundwave.
Oh, that was
Sideswipe.
No, that was Sideswipe is a good guy.
Oh, never mind.
I thought Soundwave was a good guy.
Soundwave is the like bad satellite dudes from
Shockwave was the Land Kraken guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was part of Soundwave, because Soundwave can have like tapes and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the same. The snaky Decepticon was the same as
That
the
was Shockwave.
Mercedes.
No, that was Shockwave.
Okay. All right.
Oh my
It
god.
doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like the first hour of this movie was really fun because of all the famous people that you saw in it, and the second hour was really long, waiting for them to get to Chicago to start the final. Can we talk about how the government, like the Decepticons, basically gave like the American government the ultimatum, which is why when they're taking over a planet, why are they always just addressing the American government and no one else?
I think the UN guy was the principal from Glee and was involved slightly because I saw him in the credits, but I don't remember the scene.
But they're like, you have to exile all the Autobots or else, and then the American government's just like, yup. And
Okay.
then the Autobots are just like, yup, but not really. Because we're in the side exhaust of the
And we also
rocket.
just get like just desperate attempts to make us care about some of these like side character people, like Tyrese's crew. Like there's so many hero shots and like dramatic shots of them picking them up in like New Orleans and Florida. And we're like, I don't care about these people at all. And then later, Josh Duhamel has like a little sidekick guy that's like a young soldier that he's like, way to go. And like they're trying to make him a character. And I'm just like, no, stop.
The only thing I liked with the Tyrese's crew is that guy who was supposed to shoot the rocket has that whole like little
I'm having a heart attack.
I was like, I didn't sign up for this shit. I'm like ducking through churches and old buildings and there's like fucking giant robots. Like, I don't, what am I doing?
This is crazy.
Tyrese doesn't get
I can't confirm that the Mercedes was Soundwave.
Oh yeah, there you go, Soundwave.
Yeah, I didn't think Tyrese was even going to be in it, and he shows up at the very end for
He
like
shows up like an
Men
hour
in
and a
Black
half into
3
the movie.
situation.
But yeah, it's typical Michael Bay movie where like there's too much going on. They're trying to
Yeah.
make you care about all these characters, and in the end, you care about zero of them.
I did think too it was funny that with this movie too, they're like, we got to have another way for Shia LaBeouf to act crazy. give him this watch that's like making him do shit and like hurting him.
It was so much worse than when he was possessed last time.
I know. It's just like,
it's less fun.
the only one I liked was when he like puts his hand over that guy at the computer and he's just like, get away from me.
Well, also, like, and so many times with the Decepticons, it's like, if you have this technology, why don't you just use that to take over? Like, if you could control someone's central
Just
nervous
kill him.
system with a watch,
Just cut his head off. He'll stop being a problem for you.
It's just crazy.
How does Megatron?
Yeah, I don't
not
have any more
eviscerate-
plot. I think that I respect a lot of the craft of this movie. I think that while watching it, I think there's some sinister shit at subliminally happening in this movie. I think that there's through lines to a lot of ugly shit that is romanticized and put forward. I think not maliciously at the time, but I can see a lot of things that came out of this or that people could take away from this movie in retrospect that if I was a filmmaker looking back on it, I would be questioning myself.
It's just aged so poorly.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Brennan?
I forgot.
Oh, okay.
How did Megatron not eviscerate. What's her name? Carly? Why is her name Carly? That's such a dumb name.
I don't know.
But
Honestly, through most of the movie,
Carly.
I have no idea what her
I
name
didn't know her name.
Carly.
I still barely remember what Megan Fox
Carly.
and Shia's
Yeah,
name
get
are.
it.
When Carly goes to Megatron and like rizzes him up or whatever the young kids say nowadays. When she gets his engine going, and then he like goes to like kill her, and then he's like, "Arr!" And then he goes and fucks up Sentinel. Like what? How does he not just?
Yeah.
Again,
That
it's
would
a
have been
sex
so
thing.
appropriate.
I mean, she was basically like, you know what,
Like,
Megatron?
maybe if I do this, she'll ride me later.
Yeah.
Oh God.
She's like,
She'll drive my
Megatron, you have a
safari
small
truck."
penis, and Sentinel has a bigger penis than you.
Yeah.
Why don't you go do your thing? Yeah. I don't know.
Eliz, you said you had a game.
I do. It involves the music because, of course, we get Linkin Park.
Linkin Park is back
with an all-new song that doesn't sound quite as exactly the same as What I've Done and New Divide. It sounds a little bit different. It's called Iridescent.
A little bit more emotion in this.
Yeah, and so this movie came out in 2011, 2 years before Frozen would come out in 2013, and yet I wonder if Linkin Park was pissed when Frozen came out, because this song, the hook involves letting it go.
What?
And I have prepared a game, and let's just answer quickly. Let's do it like, Billy Eichner style. Just answer the first thing that comes out of your head. And basically the game is Linkin Park or Frozen. And this includes Frozen and Frozen 2.
Okay.
But it only includes this one song from Linkin Park, Iridescent. Okay?
Both Frozen movies? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here's the first one. Remember all the sadness and frustration. Let it go, let it go.
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
Yeah. Okay. Tyler, you can answer 2 if you want. And then the second one is conceal, don't feel, don't let them know, let it go.
That's
Frozen.
Okay.
That's Frozen.
All right. How about this? The wind is howling like the swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in. Heaven knows I tried.
I know way too much Frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen.
Okay.
Yeah,
How about
okay.
this? Cataclysm raining down. Inside's crying. Save me now.
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
How about feeling cold and lost in desperation? Build up hope, but failure's all I've known.
I think Linkin
Could go
Park.
either way.
Linkin Park.
Okay.
That was a close one.
One thought crystallizes like an icy blast. I'm never going back. The past is in the past.
Frozen.
Okay. Can there be a day beyond this night? I don't know anymore what is true. I can't find my direction and I'm all alone. The only star that guided me was you.
Oh boy.
Linkin Park.
Sounds.
Linkin Park?
I'm gonna say Frozen.
It's Frozen.
Oh!
Damn it.
You got us. Okay, finally.
Burst of light that blinded every angel as if the sky had burned the heavens into stars.
No, Linkin Park.
Yeah, Linkin Park.
I'm sorry, Secret Siren, but I'm blocking out your calls. I've had my adventure. I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you into the unknown.
Frozen.
Okay, but
Frozen
how
two.
about standing in the wake of devastation, waiting on the edge of the unknown?
Linkin Park.
Why are they so similar?
Wow, they are pretty similar.
Okay, wait,
They're really
last
similar.
one. Felt the gravity of tempered grace falling into empty space.
I think Linkin Park.
Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. So it's Linkin Park, but how about you've gone to a place you've gone to a place I cannot find. This grief has a gravity that pulls me down.
I don't.
Frozen.
Frozen? Frozen?
Yeah, it's Frozen. But why are they so similar? Like these are like literally almost exactly the same.
That's a great question.
This entire song is basically like let it go, let it go, let it go, and it has things about being cold and being all alone and being
incredible.
angry and frustrated and
Wow, so this movie inspired Frozen and
I think
Avengers?
so. Yeah, I can't believe that.
All movies and Rogue One. Wow,
Yeah.
all movies. All movies come from
All
this.
movies, this is where movies start.
I cannot believe Linkin Park did not sue the Lopez's Ed Sheeran style for stealing their lyrics.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's. I was like listening to the song and just like, this is Frozen.
That's
So
I didn't have that thought, but that's hilarious.
yeah, and there's some other songs. There's like a Paramore song.
Paramore,
and
there's a
another-
U2
Yeah.
unfinished song. Yeah, it's crazy.
and Jablonski's back.
Jablonski. Music is still pretty good. Score is
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, well, I don't know. Tyler, you have a rating system unless anyone else has stuff to say. Anything else?
I guess I'll say, how many Chicago River divers did you give? Transformers. Dark
Those
of the
guys
Moon.
died shortly afterwards due to infections.
Yeah, so I know it's like a hot take, but I hated this one more than the second one. I know no one agrees, but I just thought it was worse. I couldn't follow it. I thought all the performances were worse, including Shia was worse. I missed Megan Fox. I didn't really care about the new people. Dempsey, he didn't bring in his third movie save. He just like fell apart. Actually, he has a very bad track record now that I think about it. When we talked about him being in all the third movies, all those third movies are bad.
He does get killed like a chump in this one too.
Yeah, but so I want to give it to Chicago River divers. And because Frances McDormand had to be humiliated by John Turturro, and that was disgusting.
Yeah. She had to kiss him
Ugh.
in a wheelchair. Yeah. I don't know. Should I go? I was going to give it, I was thinking about giving it 6. 6 Chicago divers. Because to me, I still think the first one is maybe like a better movie, but I feel like you haven't seen all the sequels, but I feel like out of the sequels, this is probably the most fully realized Michael Bay sequel in this. And I don't think it gets any better than this. So like,
I also thought this one was more offensive, like racially and stuff. To me personally,
Oh, really?
I know it doesn't have like the black stereotypes this time, but
right. I just feel like it has all the problems that they all have, which is like too much bloat, too much inappropriate racist stuff. But I think like this final action sequence is like really freaking sweet, and I don't know. It's a really, I think it's a high bar for like action for him, and I just really enjoy it. And I like like I said, I think it's a better villain, better story. There's a little bit, I think the stakes are higher, and it's just like the whole movie is like a bigger scale than the last one. Like, I know we went to Egypt and we were at the pyramids. I just feel like everything here is like way bigger scale. And from what I recall, it just doesn't quite ever get there again from the Michael Bay sequels. So I'm just kind of like, I was thinking about my score and I'm like, I want to give it a little bit higher, I think, even though it's still not like a great movie. It's not one that like I want to put on and watch again, but I would maybe put on and watch like the final action sequence. But yeah, I don't know. Like when I want to go see a crazy action movie in theaters, like this is something I would enjoy.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to give it 4 Chicago divers, but that is with the caveat that I loved this movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Loved is a strong word, but I knew what it was. I think that the thing that's more sinister about it is that Michael Bay was giving the people what they wanted with this movie, and it is a little bit of a mirror in terms of what was crowd pleasing at that time. Critics panned it, but the audience scores were fairly good, and there was a lot of amazing filmmaking craft in these movies, which sounds silly to say, but just like doing things at that scale and making things blow up and just, getting the ability to have it where it doesn't just devolve into this crazy CGI nonsense. Like there's still plates being shot. They're still in Chicago. Like there's still a location shoot in that way. So yeah, it's guilty pleasure. That was far less pleasurable watching it this time.
Yeah, I'm never going to be like, oh my God, you guys, this is the best movie of all time. But I'm like, if you want like Transformers, robots punching each other, like this is pretty good for that.
Okay. I enjoyed that's another thing that I felt very weird while watching. Like I enjoy the violence of this movie. Like I enjoy
Yeah. What about you, Brendon?
Like it looks, they make it look real cool.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna say 3 Chicago divers out of 10. I think this movie has entertaining parts. I think like the first hour of this movie is really fun because you're like, oh my God, is that famous person? Oh my God, is that famous person? And then the rest is just like a dumpster fire of plot and of just CGI mess. But I do think, I've seen way worse CGI movies.
Sure.
like way worse. So yeah, I mean, this movie is everything that you would expect from a Michael Bay movie, and it's kind of quintessential in that way. So I see where you're coming from, Justin, but yeah.
Fair.
Oh, I also want to mention that nobody yelled at their elderly female relatives. However, Carly does ask Frances McDormand if she's even a woman at some point, which I was like, oh boy, very not cool. And then also, what was the other thing? Shoot. Yeah. John Turturro didn't show his ass, which is great.
Thank God.
But like, if you're going to commit to that, stick to it.
But you missed it, didn't you?
I did not.
I missed it.
I was very relieved. But weirdly, he was in a wheelchair the whole time. Do you think it was just because he didn't want to stand up?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
He gets like totally tossed out of his car at
Or
one
maybe
point.
he like hurt his ankle or something a week before shooting.
Yeah,
I'm just
maybe.
like, I've got to be in a wheelchair the entire time.
That is funny.
So anyway.
Well, guess what, you guys? Audiences fucking love this movie. It has it made a worldwide total of $1.123 billion.
It was number 2 that year.
Yeah, and it was also the 5th highest grossing film of all time for a bit.
Wow.
It's not that anymore, since we've had a lot of huge Marvel movies and stuff. It has moved down to number 31 currently.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
But I mean, like, yeah, there's only so many movies that made over $1 billion. So it seems like they nailed it on this one as far as like, adjusting what people thought of the second movie.
It split the difference between, it was second only to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 domestic, and then it's Transformers Dark of the Moon, and then it's Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yeah. And
Fast 5 is 6. Captain America is 10 this year.
Dang. It's like, you might be thinking to yourself, after this movie, like, why did Michael Bay continue to make 2 more sequels? And like, okay, well, maybe that's why, because it, it was a crazy, huge success. Like, people think of the Transformers movies now as being like, I don't know, is it going to suck or what? But at the time it was like, one of the biggest movies out there.
Giving the people what they want.
And that's why in 2014 we get Transformers Age of Extinction. Like we said, also Michael Bay.
I think we finally lose Shia though, right?
That's right.
That's what I've heard.
No more Shia. Got Mark Wahlberg instead. So, is that a trade up? I don't know. It depends on what you think.
How many more movies are there after this one?
There's
2 Last
more.
Night, Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast.
2 more Michael Bay
I can't
ones.
believe we have 4 more weeks of this.
And then we have Bumblebee
We do.
and then the new one.
Oh God.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Hey,
This movie was hard work for me to watch.
Yeah.
I feel like it was so long,
Yeah.
but I did it, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, they just recently put out the runtime for the new one, and it's under 2 hours. You guys.
What?
Hell yes.
It's under
I did
2
see that,
hours.
yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Might be great. Who knows? You never know. But anyways, thank you guys all for being here, and thank you to Brendon for being here with us. I hope you had a good time.
Oh, dude, had a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Heck yeah. And we will be back next week. But before we say goodbye, Eliz, where can people reach out to us?
Yeah, email us your thoughts, sequelrights@gmail.com, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at sequelrights.
And please rate and review us or follow us wherever you're listening. Helps with people find the show, even though I have to report, please don't unsubscribe when I have to tell you that Mark Wahlberg's character in the next movies, his name is Cade Yeager.
Please don't unsubscribe.
Please don't unsubscribe. We didn't do it. It was the
Wasn't
screenwriter.
us.
He
It
decided
wasn't
that.
us. Oh
Proof
boy.
that AI has been writing scripts for a lot longer than we think.
That's right. Oh man. Yep. Well, yeah, we will be back for some Dinobot action next week with Transformers Age of Extinction. We'll see you guys then. Have a good one.
Class dismissed.
You were standing in the wake of devastation, when you were waiting on the edge of the unknown, and with the cataclysm raining down, insides crying, save me now. You were there. possibly